I'm Angela Middleton. Thanks for clicking on the link. I want to talk today about running businesses and in the process transforming your body as well. I've been asked so much about this on social media and also on a day-to-day basis, and people have been so supportive as well and so encouraging that I would really like today to share some of the things that I've learned, some of the so-called secrets that I've discovered and how I've managed to achieve what I have in business, which amounts to over £100 million worth of turnover in my businesses in the last few years, and also losing 22 pounds of body fat in the process. So I've done that as well with no leg up, no sort of crazy fad diets or anything like that. Some very, very basic and consistent methods that I absolutely know to work. I'm going to share all that with you today, and my goal at the end of it is that you come away from this session with some very clear strategies that you can implement immediately. That's my goal. And if you stay until the end and if you send us an email with some feedback, I can also send you the whole list of slides that you'll see popping up on the screen as we go through the talk. Who's this for? Well, a number of different people in different categories, ranging from those people that maybe are just starting out in their career. Alternatively, you may be midway through a career, maybe you're in a job, you're doing well, you enjoy it, but you're sort of feeling a bit stuck. You're wondering how you could get to that next level. Could you maybe double or even treble your income? If so, how could you do that? So maybe you're just sort of pondering over ideas, or maybe you're feeling frustrated that you've been trying to do that for a while and just haven't managed to do it. Alternatively, you may be thinking about starting your first business. We know that there's so much advice on starting businesses online, but where do you go? Well, I think it would be a good idea to go somewhere and listen to somebody who's actually done it. And so if you're in that category, this will certainly help you. And finally, you may already have started your own business. Maybe you've been running it for many years. It's a bit of a sort of what we call a lifestyle business, so almost like a job in a way. It's paying your overheads every month and maybe you're making a small amount of profit, but you're not feeling that you're really sort of building a business entity, something that you can keep sort of growing separately from you, give you some independence, and maybe other people may come along and invest in it in the future and make you lots of money. So it's for you wherever you are in that journey, really. As I say, my intention is that I can give you some really tangible things that you can take away and you can implement right now. So first, some background about me. Who am I? Why should you listen to me? Well, currently I run a number of businesses, all in the field of careers, but I started my career some time ago working for BP Oil as a new graduate at the age of sort of 20, 21, and I spent 10 years there in that corporate world, learning, various aspects of business as you do when you very first start out. And I then moved to the Woolwich, which became Barclays, and I spent another 10 years there. And so in total, I had a 20-year corporate career where at the end of it, I was actually reporting at board level and was able to, observe firsthand the operations of the CEO, the chairman, and how things sort of started and stopped. And I although I enjoyed it and I had a great business background as a result of working there for those 20 years, I did a fair amount of travel and lots of different things. I started to get quite frustrated in the end that I couldn't make the difference that I wanted to, and I didn't feel that independence, and I felt really ready at the end of 20 years to start my own thing. I did do that. I started my first business in 2002, went through a number of different iterations of different businesses. They evolved from a straightforward recruitment company through to, we diversified into training and talent management and things of that nature. And where we are now is probably, by most people's standards, quite a large SME still. We employ over 100 people. We have a number of offices around the country, and I can run those businesses now pretty sort of hands off, to be honest. I spend probably 1 or 2 hours a day on my businesses, if that. I have the freedom to do lots of networking, learning about the things that I'm interested in, and it's been very nice to me that my efforts have been recognised as well. I was recognised as CEO of the Year by the Business Brilliance organisation last year, which was lovely. I've also been recognised as a leader in the field of apprenticeships, and that's one of the companies that we have where we work with young people. The work that we did was pretty transformational with that particular market with young people, and we are the leading provider of apprenticeships today. When the businesses got to a point where they were up and running, I found that I was able to really pursue my passion for learning, and as a result of that I went and learned lots of business strategies from leaders really in their field. So as you can see here, there I am with the leaders of Goldman Sachs as the chief exec. There's also Michael Bloomberg there. I also was very interested in mindset and how that influenced business, and so you can see me there with Tony Robbins. And those of you who know Tony, I mean, he is an absolute, he says he's not a guru, but I do believe he is in the field of sort of motivation and mindset, and I've met Tony a number of times and talked to him and really learned, how you can sort of control your mind and how you can make things happen if you're clear enough. By the time I got to about 2015, I realised, because of the transformational work that we'd done, that we had something that really, really worked for young people, but we couldn't possibly give it to everybody in this 5,000, villages and towns in the UK that needed it right then. And so I wrote this book, How to Get Your First Job. That's first of a series. I have a second book coming out this year, actually, in November 2018. But this first book contains 100 tips on how to sort of take your first step on the ladder, but actually it's very relevant to individuals that are sort of midway through their career as well. So I'm proud of that book, and it's sold across the States as well as across Europe and even South Africa. It's regarded as a top 10 in its field, and we give it free to everybody who comes on our courses. And then leading on from that, I have a podcast series now on iTunes. I think we've just got to our 50th podcast, and these are 20-minute podcasts where I actually interview high flyers in various fields, and it can be everything from accountants to lawyers, from singers, actors, doctors, a whole range of professions, and I just ask them how they got to where they are, what it's like to do their job, and what they would actually advise individuals wanting to follow in their footsteps to do next in order to do the same thing. That's proved to be very, very successful. People like it. We've had about 10,000 listens a week on that. You can get that free on iTunes. I've also been lucky enough to work with Richard Branson. I was asked to join his panel of advisors to help him decide which small business to invest in, and I've done that for 2 years running, where I've sat as the judge, if you like, in charge of entrepreneurship, and I've met literally thousands of small business owners as a result of that, listened to their pitches and helped Richard decide which of those he should invest in. I've had lunch in Richard's kitchen and have talks with him as well. As you can see me here, I received an award for doing that work. And again, very enlightening to talk to somebody of that caliber, and I learned a lot about business strategies from Richard as well. During all of this time, I underwent this sort of body transformation, as you can see here, and I mean it's still shocking and stunning to me now, the transformation that I managed to achieve. And that really was making a decision to get fit in 2016, following it through, and I will talk about some of the strategies that I implemented there. And I just had the amazing realization that the fitter I got physically, the fitter I got mentally, and then the better business went. So I'll talk about that. I am pretty prolific on social media. If you go into my Instagram, for example, you will see a whole variety of pictures of this nature, and I do talk a lot about mind, body and business. And for those of you who are familiar with the social media leaders these days, you can see there I am with Gary Vee. I spent a great day with Gary and his team, and he talked a lot about the different social media strategies that can help on the career side, so I've been able to implement that. I've also become very active on the political side, not to stand as a politician, but really in the last year I've been called upon to advise various ministers and MPs on the subject of careers. As you can see, I've met the Prime Minister a number of times, and I actually launched my careers manifesto in June this year, 2018, where I actually suggested that we ought to make careers advice available to not just young people, but to everybody, no matter where they are in their career. And we ought to give them advice from real people who are actually doing those careers. We shouldn't really rely on teachers, for example, to provide this information. We should make it accessible in formats that individuals want to use. So hence the podcast, so people can access that when they want it, in a format they want it. And we're doing a lot of work now within that Careers Manifesto, and we really are building traction there, and have a number of different champions sort of helping us really to sort of push that whole initiative forward. So that's been exciting. So overall, all of my business interests come under the banner of Limitless. That's why you're here on this page. So without further ado, I will talk about some of these strategies. I have done a lot of things right, but it has taken me a long time to do all of this stuff. In fact, it's taken me 36 years to get where I am. And just to recap, that was a lot of steps. It was 20 years in corporate. It was then 6 years starting my first business, growing it reasonably nicely, but then getting to 2008, 2009 recession and finding that it plateaued and actually some of the business failed. Starting again, this time though, working with a number of consultants, going on lots of different courses and spending literally hundreds of thousands of pounds, as well as a lot of time and effort and travel and everything, finding out all these new strategies. And then after that, coming back, implementing that at great length in my businesses and, sort of trying and failing and then trying and succeeding and sort of, trial and error basically is what you do when you learn new things. And then sort of writing the book and then creating the podcast, and in the meantime getting fit as well. So all of that has taken me 36 years, and it is a long time. And yes, I've enjoyed it, but what I've realised now is you don't need to spend anywhere near that amount of time, and that's really what I'm going to share with you now. There are shortcuts. Once you know this stuff, I have a blueprint now that really works in business, and I know that if you apply this blueprint, you can very, very quickly go from zero to a thriving business that's making profit. And I've worked with a number of people, and they've created a number of testimonials for me saying, how it's been transformational for them. The same with body. I know now what you have to do, no matter where you're starting, to get the body that you really, really want. And it needn't take you years and years and years to do it either. So that's what I will share with you now. So in summary, I've discovered all of this the hard way, and what I'm going to share with you, my lovely supporters on social media, and the fact that you're listening to me, is I'm going to share with you the easier way, the shortcut way. I wouldn't call it a cheat way. It's never a cheat. I think it's, if you are sort of, focused enough and clever enough to seek out information and then you go and implement it, you're certainly not cheating. What you're being is super sensible. And so, but what I am going to give you here are the shortcuts. So I'm going to give you the easy way to do this. When I say easy, what I mean is it's not going to take you 36 years. You will actually be able to emulate this stuff in 30 days or even less. It's going to be a massive shortcut for you, and it really consists of 3 main secrets. I'm going to tell you the first secret if you are ready. And the first secret is, and I know this sounds cliche, but it is to build a winner's mindset. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is to be aware, first of all, of the constant inner chatter that we have, which is limiting our ability to push forward and which is actually self-sabotaging. Unfortunately, we're all born with this brain that holds us back. There is science to it. There's a special name for it. We don't need to know that. You can look it up if you want, but effectively our brain is trying to protect us. It's trying to protect us from being eaten by lions and tigers. And now that there are none of those around to eat us, for most of us, what it's actually doing instead is it is drawing us back, keeping us in our comfort zone and doing everything it possibly can to keep us safe. And so what it says is, don't do that, you're not clever enough. Don't do that, you're too old, you're too young, you haven't got the right education, you haven't got enough money to do that, you're not pretty enough, you're not tall enough, you're not. This is what we tell ourselves the whole time, and it is just so limiting, and it's so easy for me to see it when I speak to people because I'm now aware of it. So that is the very first thing, is number one, be aware of the constant chatter that takes place in your head. And as soon as you do that, you're going to be shocked. We talk to ourselves sometimes in a way that we would never speak to our friends or even strangers in the street. And yet, we look at ourselves and we are constantly, if we're not careful, criticizing ourselves and stopping ourselves from doing something. I'm sure you've been in a meeting before where you've wanted to say something, but for whatever reason, you've been held back and you haven't said it. And then you've thought, I wish I'd said that now because, I did know the answer to that. Or, you've thought to yourself, I really don't look great today. I'm too fat, or I'm this, I'm that, I don't like my dress, or whatever it is. And you then see a photograph of yourself, maybe 6 months later, or maybe a year later, and you think, wow, I looked really nice then. We have a very warped perception of ourselves, and it can be so limiting and so self-sabotaging. And so what I want to let you know here is that, number one, that happens and it stops you doing things for real. But number two, it is so easy to change it, because what you do is you just basically reverse it. And let's just take some of those examples. I'm not clever enough. Well, that's what Google's for. You don't need to know all the answers to everything now. Anything you need to know is actually on Google, whether that is how to start a company or whether it's particularly some detail about, the niche that you're in. You can find out anything that you want whenever you want at a click of a button. So worrying about maybe, not being clever enough, not having been to the right school. If you think about schools don't teach us how to be successful in our careers, do they? They don't teach us about how to be successful financially. No, it's not the school's fault because they are driven to teach us academics, and they do that very ably, but they don't teach us how to be successful in our careers. So it doesn't matter if you didn't go to the right school. It doesn't matter if you didn't get a particular set of qualifications. What matters is where you are now and what you're going to do next. If you think about the worries of, I'm too old, well, with the research that there is now, we have never ever been healthier than we are now. 20 years ago, people just weren't healthy, and people now are so much healthier. They're moving so much more. All the research shows that we're going to all live much, much longer than we have before. In fact, I've read research by Peter Diamandis that says the body should be capable of living to 157. So, the odds are that we're all going to live, if we stay fit and healthy, to in excess of 100. So you are not too old. In fact, wherever you are, you've achieved tons and tons of experience if you're midway through your career, and that can all be put to good use, because the more stuff you learn, the better you're going to be when you take the next step. On the reverse of it, I'm too young. I hear people saying that. Well, you're not too young for the same reasons. You've got all of that extra time, all of that energy, all of that drive and that passion to start something. And if you fail, well, okay, move on to the next. Use what you've learned to implement the next time. So again, turn these things on their head. I don't look right, I don't like how I look, I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too that. We can change all of that. I'm going to talk to you about body. All of these things are momentary. Nothing is set in stone, and everything is in your control to change it. So if you just start to think about these as I say, I know it's a cliche, but if you start thinking about what you can do and focusing on what you can do, that is the first key step. It is the first secret. I know it doesn't sound mind-blowing, but the important thing is to do it. And it's not easy to do it, but if you remind yourself to do it every hour of every day, you will start to feel more and more positive. And the first thing that you have to be positive about is you and your ability to move forward. Very often I hear people say that they believe that success is for other people. They may not voice it, but they do think it. Absolutely wrong. Why is success not for you? Of course it is. You are totally entitled to be as successful as anybody else and more successful. It all boils down to what you want and what you're prepared to do to go and achieve that success. So it's all down to you. Be positive, have that positive mindset and focus on what you want and what you can do, and then do it. Having done the first secret, I'm now going to tell you the second secret, and I hope you're ready, because this second secret is very, very important, and I didn't realise how important and helpful this is. And it boils down to this: build a winner's body. Now, I know that sounds strange, and immediately it may conjure up the image of a bodybuilder, and if it does, then just dwell on that for a moment. I'm saying, think about your body as a machine. Think about, what is important when you're actually doing something. You are doing something with your body. You can't expect this part of your body, your brain, to operate at optimal performance if this part and the rest of it is not. It's all part of the same thing. In the same way, this is a muscle, the brain is a muscle. And so, this is available to everybody. I'm not saying that you have to get to a point where you are going to be photographed in a bikini holding 2 dumbbells, as per the picture that you've seen of me. But what I am saying is that you can get to a point where your body is optimized and has the maximum amount of energy that it could possibly have, where you are jumping up awake in the morning, where you fall asleep immediately when you go to bed, where you are totally productive during the day, where you are feeling strong, energetic and infused, and you get stronger and stronger and stronger every day. Because I've actually done that myself, and I can absolutely tell you this is a key secret, because as I've built my body, my mind has got stronger, and it is no coincidence that my business has improved and grown as I've gone along. And when you actually run a business, or when you are holding down an important job, there are problems every single day. Of course there are. But when you have got a strong body and a strong mind, you are just able to cope with it so much better. If you think about it, moving forward and progressing in your career and in business is really just no more than a series of putting out fires and resolving issues and resolving problems. That's really all of what it is. We are all problem solvers in our jobs. And so to be strong enough to do that mentally and physically means that you're going to be able to do that quicker, and you're going to be able to get under, hurdles, around them, over them, and move to that next level. But again, we do hold ourselves back with this. And again, we have all of these negative thoughts about why we can't do it. Everybody knows that to achieve, an improvement in your body, you need to exercise more, eat better, sleep more, and all of these things, but we don't do it. Well, why don't we do it? It boils down to this again. It boils down to self-sabotage and the things that we tell ourselves as to why we can't do it. We say things like, I'm not going to be able to eat any of my nice foods anymore. Well, I'm going to talk to you in a moment about that being untrue and how you can change that thought on its head. We say, I don't want to go to the gym the whole time, or I just don't have the time to go to the gym, or I can't afford to go to the gym. Or we say, look, that's just not for me, I'm not a runner, or I hate exercise, I don't do a spin. So we're constantly just putting ourselves in a box really and labeling ourselves as I don't do this or I don't do that. Or we may say, I've got a young family, I'm busy cooking food for them, I can't possibly afford either the money or the time to start to cook, more than one type of meal every single night. I've heard people say that they are worried about alienating their friends and family if they completely change their fitness regime, and that friends will be upset with them if they don't socialise the whole time and drink wine with them the whole time or with their family or whatever, and they worry about that, and they worry that generally speaking this is going to completely change their life and take away all the things that they mostly enjoy. And so this is a big thing that really holds people back. The other thing is that very often people say things like, well, I'm all or nothing, so I'm going to do it for a short period of time, but then I went to the gym, I went to boot camp and it just didn't work for me. Well, again, that is a limiting belief, because the truth of the matter is that some of these things, they do work, but they have to be done consistently. So just for a moment, I want to talk about how we could change those thoughts on their heads as well. I have to give up eating nice food. Well, you can, I promise you, lose weight and eat better, but still have your cheat days. If you love pizza, just don't have it every night. I loved pasta and wine. That was my go-to. So if I had a really long day, I would go home, I'd have a glass of wine, and I would inevitably have something with pasta. And it was really hard for me to stop doing that. But the truth of the matter is now I still do that, maybe once a week, but I enjoy it so much more. So you can change the way you eat and you can still have all the things you want, just not have them all the time. And honestly, you like it better when you just have it now and again as opposed to all the time. I have to go to the gym all the time. You don't. I mean, exercise comes in many forms, and I always say to people when they first start out to do what I did and what I was advised to do, which is literally just walk. Literally start to walk 10,000 steps a day, that's all. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But you don't have to go to the gym the whole time. You can go and play football, you can do cycle, you can walk, you can do anything that is basically the thing that you love doing. The important thing is just to move. So again, some of these limiting beliefs are because we've got the wrong idea about what it is that's necessary to get fit and strong. You don't have to just go to the gym. Or people want to go to the gym, but they say they can't afford it. Well, there are some gyms like Pure Gym, which operate for something like $19.99 a month. I went to a beautiful gym in central London that had just opened. It was a Pure Gym. It's open 24 hours a day. It was amazingly kitted out. It's $19.99 a month. Well, most people would spend that in a week on coffees and the odd sandwich. So you can afford to go to the gym, honestly. I know that personal trainers are expensive and that would probably be the next level, but there's so much stuff online, there's videos at YouTube, to show you the various techniques. So you can actually change that mindset and just go out there and do that if that's what's holding you back. In terms of friends and family getting upset, well, think about it a different way. You can act as the inspiration for them, and you can really help your loved ones get onto a whole fitness journey as well. And of course, we all want our loved ones to live longer and be fitter and healthier and happier. So you taking that first step can really help them. And in terms of sort of cooking food, different types of foods, well, you can sort of pick and choose and sort of create a healthy dinner for your whole family, but maybe you just don't have some of the things that are not going to help you with your weight loss program. So maybe you don't have the potatoes, but they do, and things like that. Maybe you don't have the pasta, you just have the protein and the vegetables, but you don't have the pasta. So you don't have to cook lots of different things. So in a nutshell, that is the second secret. Building your body is easier than you think. There are some very basic steps that you can follow. You can start them immediately, as soon as we basically finished this video if you want. They don't have to cost you any money, and you don't have to radically overhaul what you're eating. You really don't. And you can start that journey right now. And I promise you that is absolutely pivotal if you're going to want to improve your career and really get ahead in your life. So that is the second secret, building your body. You have to have the positive mindset to move yourself forward, but that mind is encased in a body, in a machine. And if you can make that machine full of energy and able to implement some of the great ideas that you have, and the great problem resolutions that you're thought of, you have to have the energy to do it. And I promise you that if you transform that part of your life, you will be amazed at the impact that it has on your business. And so now I'm going to come to the third secret. And that third secret now comes down to business, and it is to use a proven business blueprint. Something that you know works, that someone like me has created, is proven. There are so many different business blueprints now available on the internet from people that have just not done it. They talk a great game, but they haven't done it, and I have over 36 years I've been in business, as I said, 20 years in corporate, 16 years running small businesses, and I've not had a meteoric rise either. I've had ups and downs and had challenges and things to resolve, and as a result of that, you really do learn a lot. And so I can tell you things that really work and things that just don't. So using a proven, that's why the word proven is so important, a proven business blueprint is critical. There are so many strategies out there, and you have to sort of choose the ones that are going to most quickly get you there. But before we actually talk about business blueprint, which is the third sort of part of the puzzle, again, I just want to talk about mindset for a bit, because it is very often our mind, again, even in this area, even though we have the business strategies, will hold us back. And let's look at some of the things that we tell ourselves with regard to business. Firstly, people are always saying to me they would love to do something, but they just don't know what. They cannot think of a business idea. And what I always say to them is to go back to what it is that they love and that they're good at. I've got a great example of someone I was talking to not so long ago who was in insurance. He was good at it. He was holding down a really good job in a large insurance company, but his true love was horse racing, and in particular, those very expensive race horses. They call them bloodstock. And I said to him, surely they have to be insured. They're worth millions of pounds, aren't they, these horses? And he said, yeah, it's called bloodstock reinsurance. I said, well, what about that? You join the two together. He said, yeah, I'm going to have a look at that. Next thing, he started a business in bloodstock reinsurance. It went really, really well, and that's what he now does. So you can always find what it is that you naturally are drawn to, because when you are naturally drawn to it, you know a lot about it. It's not an effort. And then you can start to create your business niche from there. So that's one thing that holds people back. They don't know what it is they want to do. Now, if they do know what they want to do, they then have potentially a whole series of negative thoughts around that. For example, well, I've already got competitors. There are already companies that are doing that. I always say to that, that's fantastic. If there are competitors doing what you want to do, then number one, you don't have to trailblaze and take risks like that. You can see what works and what doesn't. And also you know that there is a market for that product or service, that people are already paying good money for it. And then if there are very, very big competitors in that market, well, it means that you've got your future potential buyers of your small business. So small businesses inevitably are much faster than big businesses at making things work and changing things. So if you can really create a niche in a market and you can move fast on it, you'll be amazed at how large businesses start to notice you, and they ultimately could be the buyers of your business and make you loads of money. Another thing that stops people from starting a business and moving ahead, or training themselves to sort of get to the next level if they're in a job, is they say that they need lots of money to do this. You do not need large amounts of money to start a business. You really don't. In this day and age, with virtual services all over the place, you don't need to hire a specialist team. So for example, I recently used 99 Designs online, and that was to create a series of logos, etc., and everything to do with the marketing of a particular brand. They call it 99 Designs. It costs £199. Job done. And as a result of that, you had a whole load of marketing experts, design experts, pitching ideas for logos. That's just one little example. There's virtual assistants that you can get online, so you don't have to appoint a full-time PA. So you can get a lot of these things done by going onto Google, by outsourcing, by paying one-off small amounts of money, and you really don't need large overheads, big offices. You know that there's the facility now for WeWork, so if you want to rent one little office in a beautiful big building, such as the one that I went to in Bishopsgate yesterday, then you can readily do that. So the need for investment to start a business just isn't there. You can actually go and start a business now by clicking on Companies House, and in 15 minutes you can have your business entity set up. You can go on to a website that I always use, which enables you to set up your own website and your own domain immediately. You can buy that. So there's so many things that you can do at a click of a button, and by the end of today you could have your new business established. So having covered a lot of this theory, which I put into practice and I know works, I wanted to share some very specific strategies with you very quickly that you can take away and you can implement. And I'll give you one linked to each one of the 3 secrets. The first one is to do with mindset. I came across a theory which was to do with the 6 human needs. This is really interesting. We show it up here on the screen now, but the science shows that every human being is driven to fulfill 6 human needs, and you can see them listed there. And what we've learned is that individuals will find any way to fulfill those needs. And so, for example, if we just take the first one, certainty, if you look at people's behaviour, in particular your own, you can start to ask yourself, what is it that I do to create certainty in my life? And is it positive or negative? And is it propelling me forward or is it holding me back? And let's just take certainty. Some people are really driven by schedules and by productivity and ticking boxes and ticking lists, etc. And that gives them certainty and it propels them forward. Others, though, will be driven to stay safe. They will be driven not to change. They will be driven to do the same thing day in and day out and not talk to new people, maybe not reach out, and ask questions that they think they shouldn't ask. And that will be holding them back. So both those scenarios, people trying to get certainty, one is propelling them forward and one is holding them back. So, I don't want to go through too much of it right here, but just take a look at that, read that slide and look up more of it if you want to on Google. Tony Robbins does a really great overview on 6 human needs. It's something that really changed the way that I operate, both personally, the way that I behave and the way that I manage my businesses, but also the way that I actually engage with people on a social and professional level. Because you can immediately, once you understand this theory, understand why people do what they do, why people say what they say, and then it enables you to really connect with that person so much more effectively. And when you connect with people, you can get things done, you can align your goals, and you can both come out of the relationship, in a positive way. So that's a very important key strategy within mindset. Another strategy that I wanted to tell you about with regard to the secret number 2, the body, is very simple, but it's amazing how people don't do it, and that is steps. It's 10,000 steps a day. Now, many of you will know all about that now, but do you do it? Go onto your health app on your Apple phone, and I think it's on Android as well, and find out how many steps you've actually walked in the last 7 days. We started this with Middleton, one of my companies, with all the staff there, and we gave them a step challenge. What I suggested was that if all of us did 10,000 steps a day for 30 days, we would step over 30 million steps in a period of a month. And if we did that, then we would donate money to charity. And it started an amazing fitness culture within the business, and it's resulted in some amazing physical transformations for individuals who work in the business too. Because stepping is basically moving, and that is the first thing you need to do when you are trying to build your body. You want to start creating a calorie deficit. So you need to start using this energy that you're consuming, and it's amazing the mental impact that it has in your mind as well. But walking 10,000 steps is so much easier than you might think. If you just decide that you're going to do 2 or 3 walks a day, you're just going to not get on that bus, you're not going to get the tube or the taxi, and you're just going to walk, you can decide to take the stairs instead of the lift, do 10,000 steps a day, and then go forward from there. So it's very basic, but it is a key strategy to implement from now. And with regard to secret number 3, using a proven business blueprint, I wanted to tell you very quickly about the value ladder, which you can see depicted here in this graph. And what that basically is when you're starting a business or when you're introducing a new service or a product, don't spend too much time and money creating something before you even put it in front of a future potential client. Because what generally happens in that case is that you sort of build it with this whole view that, build it and they will come. And then you put it in front of the client and they don't want it. The much better, safer, more productive way is to create something which is really just the start of a product or a service, and to put it in front of a group of potential clients and see what they say, see what feedback they give you, see if they buy it. Have a very, very low value offer. It may not be the asking price that you want ultimately, but see if people are prepared to buy it. Once they do like what you've got and they do buy it, they will start to trust you. Once they trust you, they will come back and they will then rebuy. And that's when you can start to build up your product and your service. You can start to get repeat buyers, and ultimately where you want to get to is a position where clients will only come back to you, they will consider buying anything that you sell, and you will eventually have a whole client base generating recurring revenue for you. And that's when your business starts to get really valuable, and that's when you can start to attract those investors in. So what I've tried to cover in this short clip is just an overview of things that I've learned that I know work. People ask me what my secrets are, and I've tried to depict that as clearly as I can, and it does boil down to 3 secrets, and they are to do with mind, body and business. But there's so much more to tell you, and I can't possibly cover all of it in detail. So what I wanted to do now is just spend another couple of minutes telling you about my program, Your Body Means Business, which actually does cover all of it, and it is available to you. And let me tell you a bit more about it. What we've done here is we've put together 3 sets of modules. For each of the 3 components, mind, body and business, we put together roughly 10 modules talking about all of the aspects relating to that group. So on the mindset, for example, there are 10 or so short videos where I actually talk about the details of how to really create that positive mindset. And then backed up with that, there is a workbook which gives you all of the theory behind it, and there is also an action plan that you can use to actually create your action plan so that you can then implement the things that you've learned in that video. And the idea is that you actually follow each of those modules every day for 30 days. So there's 10 or so for mind, there's 10 or so for body, and there's 10 or so for business. Added to that, so added to the videos and the action plan and the workbook, we've also opened up a personal Facebook group, and for anyone who joins this program, they join that Facebook group and I talk on it on a daily basis. I answer questions, so if anyone is sort of stuck or not sure, I can elaborate on that. More importantly, there is a community created there. So those individuals who are working through it at different paces, and maybe they're working through it together, they can sort of talk to each other about, well, this really worked for me, or I got a bit stuck here. What does this really mean? How did you find that? And there's a great community feel there of people sort of really encouraging each other to progress through these modules. So that's available if you join it. And the other thing to that as well is that obviously I'm discovering new things all the time, as are my team. So as we discover new things, we're adding new modules. And so this is going to be an evolving and ongoing and growing masterclass, I suppose is what you would call it. And it's something that we're really proud of because it brings together all of that 36 years of experience, but also, you know, the experience of all those people that I've been lucky enough to spend time with as well. And it's all condensed into this one package that we've called Your Body Means Business. I actually trialled it with a number of people that work for my company. We've been stunned at the reaction and the results that have been achieved. 3 or 4 amazing testimonials which you will see somewhere else on this page of people that started just doing steps in the business and then started with the healthy eating and then started with the mindset work and then have been amazed at what's happened with their career as well as their body transformation. And so, you know, we've tweaked it and we've adjusted it and made sure that it works, and we know it does because we've already got these individuals who, you know, are midway through their career. It's not like they're brand new, but they're midway through their career and they're absolutely raving about it and extolling the virtues of it already. And what they're saying is that it's made them confident enough to think about what next they can do with their career. It's made them calm. It's made them realise that you don't have to focus just on one aspect of your life and that you can actually move forward all parts of your life and, you know, have a much more rounded life where you can focus on relationships, you can advance with your finances, you can work on your body, you can work on your mind, you can work on your friendships, you can work with your career, and all of it can be managed in a calm manner, and that when, you know, they encounter problems and issues, they are feeling much more equipped to deal with those, overcome them. It doesn't rock their world every time a problem happens. So in effect, their comfort zones are massively increasing and they're sort of seeing a new world of opportunity and possibility for them they just didn't see before. And so it's been, you know, really rewarding to me personally that people have seen that with the program. But, you know, I'm not surprised, because all of these things that I've put in this program are things that have worked for me as well. And honestly, when I sort of look back over the last sort of 2 to 3 years of, you know, what I've managed to achieve as a result of bringing all those strategies together, I could pinch myself. You know, but so I know these things work. I've actually had 1 or 2 cases as well where people have actually left my business and they've said that, you know, it's created such a passion for them that they now want to pursue their real love and they want to start their own business, and that's been great as well. You know, I'm very much of the mindset when you run a business that people are not with you forever. You know, your goals are aligned, you go through that journey together. Some people sort of stay with you for sort of 10 plus years, some stay with you for 1 or 2 years, but it's been amazing therefore that what people have said to me is that this career has done things for them such as enabled them to quit their 9 to 5, showed them how to start a successful business without making amateur mistakes, helped them get fitter and healthier than they ever imagined, and basically help them to bring everything together. And in short, what it has achieved is a total transformation in their body and their business, because it is a unique method of combining wealth, success and fitness strategies. So then I asked them what values they put on these types of changes, and this is what they came up with. The lifetime access to the masterclass they said was of particular value. They arbitrarily, they averaged 6,000 value on that. And the access to the private Facebook group, they said £3,000. And in addition to that, I asked them to value each of the modules separately, and the average came back at 2,000 each. And so if we were averagely valuing this, it's coming out at a value of £15,000. Think about that for a moment. I'm certainly not expecting you to have £15,000 laying around, but what I'd ask is, if all this program did was help you quit your 9 to 5, would that be worth it? If it showed you how to start a successful business without making amateur mistakes, would it be worth it? And if it helps you to get fitter and healthier than you ever have before, able to propel forward to your next level, would it be worth it? I'm sure your answer to that would be yes. And so what I had was the challenge then of how can I get this program out to everybody and not charge £15,000, which is how it's been valued. How much should I charge for it? And I had the option of really putting a price as cheap as I possibly could so that I could give as many people as possible access to it. But what I realised is if I went too low, then I wouldn't be able to individually service all of those people that do join. My other option was to charge slightly more, so require a slightly larger investment, but that would enable me and my team to have the resources to continue to add some great content to this, but more importantly, to spend the one-to-one time with the individuals that do join to make sure that they actually achieve the results that they have set out to. So I'm sure that you can see with what I've set out here that if I were to actually sell this for £15,000 and it were to do all of those things for you that people have said, then £15,000 would actually be very, very cost effective. I'm not going to charge £15,000 quite clearly. I don't expect people to have that laying around. So with all that said, and the prospect of this content doubling and trebling your income, helping you get the body of your dreams, more than you ever thought possible, and taking you to that next level, I'm sure that you could see that £15,000, even if I were to charge that, would be a good deal. But of course I'm not going to charge that, and what you will see on the main webpage is that we charge £997 for this program, and that includes full membership and lifetime membership to the Facebook group, which is only open to those people that join the program, Your Body Means Business. And in that I'll be talking one-to-one and to the group every single day. That will be entire content both now and in the future for $997. But you've come through on an offer link, and so what you'll see is it's available to you for $497, so 50% discount. And I really hope after you've listened to all of this that you feel that it's worth every single penny. I absolutely know that it is. It will transform everything about your business career, but also your life as well. When I very first started to bring these things together, I had no idea of the impact that it would have. And I really want that for you as well. Your mind, your body, and your business will all get to that next level if you follow this program. I wholeheartedly believe in it. It's worked for me, it's worked for many others, for the testimonials that you'll see on the page, and I know it will work for you. And I really hope that you join and that I see you on the Facebook group and I get the pleasure of working with you on your goals. So thank you for listening so much, and take care and best of luck. And just one final point, you do get 100% guarantee of your money back if it doesn't work for you. Within 14 days, and I don't care if we get to the 13th day and the 59th minute of the 24th hour, if you decide that it is not working for you, and the only thing is that you have to have completed 40% of the program though, but if you decide that it isn't working for you and you want your money back, you will 100% get it back. So there really is no risk, there is nothing to lose. We know that there's always two types of people. There are the procrastinators, the people that think about it, they'll do it tomorrow, and there are the action takers. You've listened to this video, I know you're an action taker. Go ahead, sign up, you've got the guarantee, and you've got so much to gain. I just wish you could see what I can see for you, and very best of luck with it. And if you've got any questions, then you're very welcome to post those on any of our pages. There's a link below as well, or better still, join the program and we can talk one-to-one. Look forward to speaking to you.